In July of 1983, the biggest rivalry in gaming started, when Nintendo released the Famicom and Sega released the SG-3000 on the same day. There was major competition between the two companies, with major in giant quotation marks. The Famicom was revolutionary. It brought amazing graphics to home consoles with an insane library of games to boot. On the other hand, the SG-3000 had this. Who do you think won? Sega's first jump into the gaming market turned out to be basically an enhanced ColecoVision, and by the time they made enhanced versions that rivaled the Famicom's graphics, Nintendo already had the third-party support, brought the Famicom to the US as the Nintendo Entertainment System, and had already won the war. So what did Sega do to fire back at Nintendo? Just copy whatever they're doing, I guess. The Master System released a whole year after the NES for $200, and it blatantly ripped off a lot of what Nintendo was doing, so there wasn't a lot of appeal. Not to mention, their commercials just sounded like shopping lists.
Sega challenges you with the ultimate video games. Games that'll blow you away, like Alex Kidd in Miracle World. And coming soon, Monopoly. Knockout games like Rocky. Gangster Town.
Why is Gangster Town on your shopping list?
You can talk?
Well, most of us can.
Why only most of you?
Dad lost his voice in the war.
Sega knew they really needed a change before they went bankrupt, and that led to the Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis brought 16-bit consoles to stores for the first time ever, if you ignore
Intellivision.
And let's face it, everyone is. And it became a cultural phenomenon. But I don't think this is the reason the Genesis sold a gajillion copies. So what could it have been? I grew up playing Nintendo, so when I heard my dad was a Genesis kid growing up, I stopped talking to him. The real reason I think the Genesis got so big was the amazing ad campaign that launched alongside the console.
What's the hottest 16-bit video game system with true arcade games? With games like Altered Beast, Golden Axe, Super Hang-On, Forgotten World.
Okay, maybe they weren't amazing from the get-go. I don't get it. I made this entire video to talk about Sega's ad campaigns in the 90s, but this is lame. Maybe I was right to love Mario all my life.
16-bit arcade graphics.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis does.
16-bit sports action.
You can't do this on Nintendo. Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis
Does.
Genesis does.
What Nintendo don't.
I watched this commercial and then woke up to this. What have I done? There are 3 types of advertisements Sega would make. This one falls into the first and probably most iconic category. Screw you, Mario! The Genesis might as well have been shaped like a middle finger and called the Sega Really Hates Italians. It's because they were going all in on making Nintendo look lame. They specifically targeted teens because Nintendo was always seen as family friendly, which is very apparent in this commercial where some mom blows a gasket over a blue hedgehog.
Why can't it be more like that nice boy Mario? Oh! Little brat!
When the Super Nintendo came out in November of 1990, Sega knew better than to underestimate the competition, so they went even harder on the jabs at the company that kept overalls in business.
I feel like I did a bit more than that.
Shut up! Sega rules, Nintendo drools.
Whoa, no coming back from that one.
You're all immature.
Many ads would talk about the power of the Genesis, along with a side-by-side with the Super Nintendo to show how much more impressive it was. One specification of the Genesis they repeat in this commercial is...
The Sega Genesis has blast processing. Blast processing, blast processing?
Blast processing does not exist and it never has. Just a cool combination of words that doesn't mean anything made to make 90s teens start panting and barking like dogs. Like Crocodile Dentist, every child's 2 favorite things. Sega wasn't just competing in the home console market because in 1990 they released the Game Gear, Sega's first venture into handheld consoles. But how were they supposed to compete with the Game Boy? This looks like a Game Boy. Most of these ads were made to demonstrate how the Game Gear screen had colors and the Game Boy screen had a color. If only the Game Gear had, you know, anything else. Now for category 2. Okay, we won't make fun of Nintendo for a second. Even when they weren't trash-talking Nintendo, Sega put a lot of effort and creativity into their ads, but they always made sure they were the cool brand. I mean, look at this kid. He became a gamer and now he doesn't get bullied anymore. I wish that happened to me when I got a Wii as a kid. Do you want to play Mario? I'm trying to mug you. Many of these commercials are hilarious, like this one that advertised the Genesis as anything but a video game console. Or this one advertising Echo the Dolphin, with a French guy giving the funniest monologue I've ever heard.
Day 19. I am concerned about the crew. After all, Echo the Dolphin is not just a game, it is an adventure.
When Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was coming out, Sega made a giant event. And how did they kick off this event?
Sonic 3 is coming.
Look for the shadow!
On Groundhog Day. Make that Hedgehog Day.
By killing Punxsutawney Phil. You mess with Phil, you mess with all of us. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was coming out on Groundhog Day, and they had whole events labeling that they were changing it to Hedgehog Day. How dare you try and replace him? And finally, the last type of Sega commercial. A flashing lights warning.
Welcome to the next level!
Genuinely, who thought this was what teenagers liked?
Oh, we should start killing people.
This ad starts with the question I ask myself in the mirror every morning.
You still don't have a Sega CD?
This kid looks terrified, and he should be, because oh my god, Night Trap is killing him, just like all the lawyers said would happen. Oh my god. What do you think happened, detective?
It was the damn Sega CD.
Look what it does to his face. He looks like the guy that gave me nightmares from Spy Kids. I almost forgot, at the end of all these commercials, they would burst your eardrums with the iconic
Say it. Say it.
These advertisements were really fun to look back on because they really took the term console wars to the next level, especially when Nintendo joined in on the fun for a bit, like in this commercial where they tell Sonic fans that they can't count, or when Nintendo tried giving Sega fans seizures by flashing pictures of 3D rendered monkeys. Of course, nothing lasts forever, because once Sega revealed its next console, the Sega Saturn,
You are approaching Saturn. You are only seconds away. I have arranged for you to meet my companion.
Mario, come back, please.